Step 3 of the hero turn is the encounter step. This is where you're really going to be having a great time with this game and facing the encounters that the game will throw at you. You'll have to overcome them by using your religious, political, and military influence. So let's take a look at how you're going to do that. Now there are two kinds of encounters. City encounters, which will be you going to one of the districts on the board to have an encounter. And then there are trial encounters, which will resolve by you choosing a certain influence and drawing one of the special trial encounter cards and resolving it. The way the encounters resolve is the same, but we'll look at the subtle differences between each of these types of encounters, starting with a city encounter. To have a city encounter, we are going to tell the reader with the book which district we would like to encounter. As you can see in this zoomed in view, there are icons around each city. These represent the districts where you can have encounters. Typically is one to the west, north, and east, and you will indicate that to the person with the encounter book to let them know which encounter you would like to have. The city the prophet is in, Magnesia, has a political encounter to the north. So the prophet's going to choose to have that encounter. The prophet player tells the reader, I want to encounter the district to the north, the political encounter. The reader then finds in the book that city and that encounter. All of the regions are color-coded, and the book is color-coded to match. So the reader will flip in the book to the appropriate encounter. In this case, Magnesia is in Persia, which is a red encounter. So we will flip to the book, I already have it done here, to Magnesia and have that encounter. In the encounter book for each region, there will be a little bit of narrative text telling you about that region. So I'm going to read that text for Magnesia now. It says, founded by Greeks across the Ionian and named after that region, its fertile lands produce a bounty of wine, figs, and other produce. This is not required to read prior to an encounter, but it may be something you want to know about, and you're free to ask about the text for the region that you're in at any time. The reader, having found the encounter in the book, proceeds to read the text to the active player. The text in the blue box here reflects the story to be read to the player. It reads, the woods outside of Magnesia are haunted, my liege, the priest says. Your generals laugh at such an idea, but you decide to hear your priest's argument. It is written in the times of old that these woods were home to the Taraxipi, a band of ghosts famed for their ability to terrify an army's horses. Your general scoffs. Look at the horses, they are fine, she says, pointing behind her. Allow me to cast a spell of protection over our cavalry, the priest pleads. The general counters. If we are delayed, the Magnesians may not allow us entry. You know as well as I that our window is closing. Then a choice is given to the player. Will you use the precious time to protect the horses or continue to the city? At this point, the player must make their decision. As you may remember, as the prophet, we were hoping to find an encounter to protect a horse. This looks like it might be our opportunity, so the prophet player decides that they will protect the horses. Now that the prophet player has made their decision, they will need to make a roll to determine the outcome. Each player has 2 dice on their player board. The smaller dice is the hero die. This is the one you will be rolling most often. The larger die is the inner resolve die. We'll talk about how you get access to the inner resolve die, which has a greater chance of success, in a little bit. So, the prophet player takes their hero die and rolls it. I've rolled a 2. I check and we find that my political influence is 6, and we are going to add the result of the die, which was 2, to that number and tell the reader. The total is 8. So the reader will find the paragraph matching that number. They will usually be in a range. So in this example, the range is 1 to 3, 4 to 11, and 12 to 16. Because we are in the middle range, that is the paragraph that the reader will read. Note, however, that if we had rolled the axe, this is a critical success. If the axe is rolled, that means we would get the best result possible. The reader will read the top paragraph measured by the number range in the book. Similarly, if we rolled the severed bull's head, that is a critical failure, in which case the reader would read the lowest paragraph in the book, in this case as if we had rolled between 1 and 3. It's important to note that if you get the lowest paragraph, whether through a critical failure or by a regular roll, you will, on your next encounter, have access to your Inner Resolve die. The Inner Resolve die does not have a critical failure, and it has additional chances for critical success. Now that we have the result of the roll, the reader can read to the active player the result of their encounter. Your general warns you that this decision will be the difference between entry into the city and several nights in the open. I have spoken, you say with authority. She walks away and your priest begins a lengthy incantation. He pours a tincture over the earth, makes a blue paste with it. Then he smears it across his forehead, then yours, then the horse's. As twilight settles over the camp, you watch as hundreds of malign spirits race towards you. The horses stammer and neigh. Right as the apparitions close in, they seem to crash into an invisible wall and instantly ignite in blue fire. We are safe from the spirits of this wood, my liege, your priest says. Now, the resulting impact of the paragraph is read. Gain 1 political influence and 1 military influence. So, the prophet player increases their military influence by 1 and their political influence by 1. Additionally, we can see in the book the prophet's symbol here next to the paragraph. This means that the prophet has completed one of their quests. So the prophet gets to take one of their quest tiles and put it in the Hero Quest section of their board. If that would have been the 3rd tile achieved, then the player would get a special unlock. In this situation, the reader would turn to the hero unlocks in the back of the book and read a special encounter for your hero. Although it didn't occur in this encounter, some encounters in the book may advise you to take a card. The encounter cards are numbered 1 through 116. So if the book said, take encounter card number 7, you would find encounter card number 7 and take the card. These cards can do any number of effects and have any number of impacts. Just read the card and do what it says. Another kind of encounter is a trial encounter. The cards at the top of the board represent trial encounters. You can make a trial encounter from any city you're in, and the encounters are not tied to the city. So let's say the prophet instead wanted to do a military trial encounter. They would draw the red trial encounter card, which is the military, and reveal it. The reader will now find this encounter in the book. On the bottom of the card, it says Military Encounter 09. So the reader will find that encounter. Now that the encounter has been found, the reader will read the encounter narrative to the active player, just like in the city encounter. This will all play out in the same way, so we won't read this encounter, but it will be the same where the active player hears the narrative, makes a choice, then will roll their die and receive the outcome of the encounter. One last note about trial encounters is you cannot stay in the same city and have multiple trial encounters. So once you've had a trial encounter in a city, you will need to move on to another city in the next round.